Welcome to The Explainer. So India has these world-renowned conservation laws, right? Some of the best on the planet, designed to protect its incredible biodiversity. But what happens when those very laws come up against an enemy they were never, ever built to fight? Yeah, today we're diving into the clash between India's conservation rulebook and a rapidly changing climate. So let's just jump right in with a really mind-bending question, one that conservationists and policymakers in India are seriously grappling with right now. What if the very laws we wrote to save nature are now, completely unintentionally, holding it back? Okay, to really get our heads around this, we have to kind of step back in time. We need to understand the world these laws were born into. See, they were all built on this one core scientific idea about how nature works, an idea that, as we're about to see, is now dangerously out of date. Okay, so back in 1972, when India passed its Revolutionary Wildlife Protection Act, the science of the day was totally guided by this idea of stationarity. Basically, it's the belief that, yeah, nature has good years and bad years, wet and dry spells, but it would always, always bounce back to a stable average. So the laws were written to protect a world they assumed would fundamentally stay the same. But, well, you know where this is going. It hasn't. And then, bam. Climate change just completely shatters that core assumption. And what that creates is this huge, frankly dangerous mismatch between the rules we have on paper and the reality that animals are facing on the ground right now. So you've got this massive conflict, right? On one side, you have laws that assume a static world with fixed boundaries for parks and sanctuaries. And on the other, you have a reality where changing monsoon patterns and rising temperatures are forcing species to literally get up and walk away, searching for new homes. I mean, the ground is literally shifting under their feet, but our legal maps, they're totally frozen in time. And this is a brilliant way to picture the core strategy of the last 50 years. What we did was we legally created these protected areas, your national parks, your wildlife sanctuaries, with these rigid, unmoving boundaries. Think of them as legally defined fortresses, built to keep threats out and the precious wildlife safely inside. But here's the kicker. The animals are now walking right out of these fortresses. Up in the Himalayas, snow leopards are being pushed to higher and higher altitudes just to find the cold climates they're adapted to. And down in the Western Ghats, unique birds and frogs, they're literally climbing mountains to escape the heat, moving right out of the protected zones we so carefully drew on a map decades ago. So, if we were to pop the hood on this outdated legal toolkit, what are the specific flaws that are causing all these problems in this new, fast-moving world? All right. Let's break it down. It really boils down to three main things. First, those fixed boundaries we talked about. They act like walls when what animals really need are open pathways to move. Second, our laws are often obsessed with protecting a specific flagship species, like the tiger. But what happens when a park in central India just becomes too hot and dry for the tiger and its prey? And third, and this is a big one, the rules can be so rigid that they actually force park managers to fight against nature's own attempts to adapt. Like, they might have to remove a new native plant species just because it wasn't on the list 50 years ago. Crazy, right? And this quote, this just perfectly captures the huge mental shift that's needed. The old way was all about conserving the actors, saving specific famous species like tigers or rhinos. The new way has to be about conserving the arena. That means protecting the entire stage, the whole healthy ecosystem, so it can support life, even if the cast of actors changes over time. It's a profound shift in thinking. Okay, so if the old rulebook is broken, what do we replace it with? I mean, how do you even begin to write a new, climate-ready set of rules for conservation? Well, the proposed solution isn't just one single magic bullet. It's a foundation built on 4 interconnected pillars. And they're all designed to move conservation from that static, rigid model to one that's dynamic, flexible, and ready for the future. So, let's walk through them. First up, the law itself has to build in flexibility. What does that look like? Well, it means creating legal buffer zones around parks that can actually adapt over time. And this is crucial. It means legally requiring that we use climate projection data to decide where to create new protected areas. We have to start anticipating where species will be tomorrow, not just where they are today. Second, we have to accept that conservation can no longer stop at the park gate. It just can't. The law has to enable the protection of those vital corridors that wildlife use to travel between reserves. And that means legally coordinating across state lines, which is a huge challenge, and creating real, tangible incentives for private landowners and communities to manage their land in a way that's friendly to biodiversity. And here is that arenas, not actors idea put into practice. The legal goal is no longer just about preserving a historical list of species found in one spot. It's about protecting the function of the entire ecosystem. I mean, think about it. Does it really matter if the exact species of bird changes over 50 years, as long as the forest is still healthy enough to provide clean water, create rich soil, and, support life? And finally, Pillar 4. This is where things get really tough. The law has to start grappling with some very difficult, very new questions. It means creating safe, transparent, and science-based pathways for considering controversial actions, but actions that might be necessary. Things like assisted colonization, actively moving a species to a new area where the climate will be suitable in the future. It sounds wild, but it could be a last-ditch effort to prevent extinction. So, we have the scientific blueprint for what needs to change. It's all there. But, and this is a big but, the toughest hurdles aren't about the science or the technology at all. Nope, they're about people and politics. And believe me, these barriers are huge. First, you've got institutional inertia, agencies that are just stuck in their ways, resistant to changing how they've always done things. Then you have societal pushback, people who, understandably, want their national parks to look exactly as they remember them from their childhood. You've got government departments that operate in their own little silos and don't talk to each other. And maybe the biggest challenge of all, how on earth do you write a clear law for a future that is, by its very nature, unpredictable? But there are pathways forward. It's not hopeless. To break down those silos, we can create legal structures that actually force agencies to collaborate. To deal with all that uncertainty, we can build laws that are designed from the ground up to be flexible, to be updated as new science comes in. The whole goal is to make our system of governance as adaptable and resilient as we need nature itself to be. And that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? This is quite literally a race against time. The challenge isn't just about saving tigers or forests anymore. It's about whether we, as a society, can change our own systems, our own laws, as fast as the climate is changing our world.